Let's take a look at number 10. Now this would be one that would be a tendency to cause problems for people. It says 500 less than the product of 4 and a number. And the reason this one would be problematic is most of us have been thinking after the problems we've just been doing, do them in order, do them in order, do them in order. Well, let's think about this problem, the first part there that I've underlined, the 500 less than part. If I said 500 less than 1200, you know exactly what to do. You would do 1200 minus 500. Well, look where I wrote the minus 500. It's not actually the first thing, it's the second thing. So when I do this problem, same issue. It's actually going to be the second thing there. So I'm going to have a minus 500, but it's actually going to be at the end, even though it's the first thing that I run across. Okay, so what is it 500 less than? Well, it's 500 less than the product, and our product would mean multiplication. You can look at your keyword list if you need it. The product of 4 and a number. So it's a multiplication problem with 4 and a number. And remember that a number phrase, that's going to be your variable. Now, of course, because this is multiplication, I don't want to write a times sign first. Right? That might, again, be the first thing it says, but it doesn't make sense. A multiplication problem has the multiplication sign between the two components. So here, the multiplication sign is going to go between the 4 and the number, or the 4 and the variable. And of course, I'm not going to use x because I'm using x for multiplication. So I've got 4 times y minus 500, and that is properly translated into an algebraic expression. Okay, let's go down to look at 15. And 15 says there are twice as many flute players as there are trumpet players in the band. And if there are n flute players, write an algebraic expression to find out how many trumpet players there are. And as you can see, you've got 4-story problems there, but it is in the section about translating words into math. So somehow, probably at some point or another in all 4 of these, that's what you're going to have to do. So we're told here that there's twice as many flute players as there are trumpet players. And then we're also told that there are n because that's the number they gave us. It's not me making out. N flute players. So this is one of those rare times they actually told us what variable is going to be involved in the problem. Okay, now look at what this says here. Be very, very careful. All right, because when they want us to write it as an expression here, there are twice as many flute players as there are trumpet players. So some of you are already thinking 2 times n. But look at what this says. There's twice as many flute players as there are trumpet players. So if I do 2 times n, that's actually going to be wrong here. Right? It does lead me to where I need to go, but this is not how I'm going to solve it. It is not 2 times n. Why? Right? Well, there's twice as many flute players as there are trumpet players. So here, right, let's say that there are 4 trumpet players just because I need a number. All right, well, there's twice as many flute players. That means it would be n, or it would be 8. But n is the number of flute players. Right? So to solve that, if I did it this way, flute players, that would actually be 2 times 8. Well, that's not actually correct. 2 times 8 is 16. 16 is a number that didn't even cross our minds here. But how am I going to get back to this 4 from 8? Right? Well, to go back from 8 to 4, going to divide by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So when I write the expression here, I'm actually going to write n divided by 2. Again, we can check this. I can say 8 divided by 2, and that's how I'm going to get 4. And you're saying, well, this is totally misguiding. Not really. I needed the twice to figure out the relationship between the number of flute players and the number of trumpet players. But what's different here is that they gave me the number of flute players, not the number of trumpet players like we expected. If I did it like I originally wrote, n times 2, 4 times 2, which would be 8, that makes great sense, but that would be for the number of trumpet players. But I still needed this twice information to figure out the relationship between here and here. Be careful on 16, 17, 18. Make sure what you're reading actually means what you think it does.